It's the weekly PhD blog, week 19. Nearly there, nearly at 20. Times are flying. It's June already. I can't believe it's winter. Certainly feel it compared to New South Wales, where I was last year. So, update. The literature review continues, getting my head around agentic AI and its ins and outs, its nature, how to program it, its risks and proclivities when it comes to getting it right, as well as a few case studies around the place as well. So the hunt for examples of agentic AI use in counter-violent extremist work continues, and we've found a few. We found a couple, as well as a couple emergent, a couple new, one established, and a couple of people that seem to be specializing in this sort of thing, which is excellent news, because it gives us a foundation for understanding how it will fly in practice and what the ins and outs are. It's not essential that we find those case studies, but it's incredibly beneficial to do so. So, got a few leads there. You certainly hope so after the amount of people I spammed on LinkedIn. In truth, people have been incredibly helpful. It's quite interesting to see how doing that as a PhD student compared to doing it as a private consultant can have such a big difference. People see it as pro-social, and there's no profit motive. So, yeah, it's been really, really good. So for everyone who's seeing this, who contributed in any way to that, thank you very much. You've been amazing. Yeah, so that continues. Supervisor's back in, I believe, 2 weeks from now, so I should have a few case studies for him when he gets back, as well as general just literature review, upskilling, and then we can start talking about confirmation and preparing that document and all that sort of thing. Feeling good about that. I am still tossing up the target group. I think I'm leaning more towards Manosphere at this point. I feel like they're the more marginal group, especially now that the neo-Nazis have been sanctioned or regulated here. That's not going to stand up in the High Court, but it's just a matter of fine-tuning the legal instruments. Then again, they're the bigger, nastier target, but not as prevalent online. Anyway, still tossing it up. There's a lot more literature. No, they're all far right. Anyway, so clearly more to think about. Anyway, but since there wasn't that much to report this week, I figured I might as well show off a couple of the other things I do in my spare time, since I've got so much free time, which is blacksmithing. Yeah, my anvil down here. Forge is over here, one of the gas-fired forges, air-driven and gas-powered. So, big old pile of scrap metal of half-done projects, hammers galore, the obligatory giant knives that I made and then absolutely had no use for whatsoever. But, good fun. And, yes, most recent project over here. I've gotten into walking sticks a lot recently. They give you a lot of combination of practical with aesthetic opportunities. So, here we are. What we have here is the top of a walking stick. So that's an amethyst sphere. Bought off a friend up in New South Wales, as you can see, with lots of fun little inclusions into it, which made it useless for them, but very useful for me. Encased in a 4-strand braid of steel, which is an easy technique to pull off, very effective, but an easy technique to pull off with leather or cord or anything like that. Not so easy to pull up with steel. Never seen anyone do this before, and I found out why, because I got a big fat burn out of it, didn't I? Turns out it's incredibly fussy. And because you've got such a short time to move the steel before it cools down again and becomes just flat out immovable, you've got to move fast, which I found far easier to do with just my hands instead of the tongs, which is how you get burns. So, bit of fun. Got to find a way of mounting that onto this solid piece of, what was this? Tea tree, I think. Yeah. Looks like tea tree. Yeah, nice solid bit of walking stick. And there's the other end. Mount that on. I'm thinking about turning it into a sort of a leaf pattern, which you can see over here. It's always a bit of a trick, figuring out how to mount these things onto wood. You'd think it wouldn't be that hard, but as it turns out, you don't want any movement at all. So getting it totally secure means working around the shape of the wood. And the wood doesn't like being very hot. What a surprise. So, got a pair of scissors here that I need to tighten up. I'm doing a fair bit of blade sharpening here in the meantime. Did a couple of axes for a mate as well. I do a lot of projects just to see if I can do them. I can't necessarily, and then I finish them and I'm like, wow, I did it. Doesn't that look awesome? What the hell am I going to do with it now? Here's another one. So this is a cardboard mask concept. You're meant to fold it, you're meant to take the template, you're meant to put it onto cardboard and fold it in cardboard and then wear it around. Now, of course, Mr. Ambitious Little Me was like, I reckon I can do that in steel, or in this case, in thick brass sheeting, and some rather thin copper out of an old hot water system I had, which is why it's black. It's got a very interesting patina going on there, but it gives you a lot of interesting creative opportunities. All of which results in pretty solid mask. Bit of fun. Freaked out my mum, I will say that. But again, very cool. Very happy with it. What the hell am I going to do with that? I'm not going to exactly wear it down the shops. But it's fun. So, and it's also quite good in the PhD context because I can make stuff like this and at the same time I can listen to academic studies in the background. As long as I keep my notation up afterwards, it's a pretty good compromise. Yeah, so that's me and my freaky little activities for this week. Yeah, another update next week. Hopefully have some solid case studies by then.